Bet.
Welcome to another episode of The Clever Angle. I got my boy TJ Eskridge. He is a DPT, Doctorate of Physical Therapy. We're going to be talking about everything physical therapist. We're going to be talking about his journey to getting there. But, before that, we're just going to catch up a little bit. Like I said in the last podcast, you can't just come out pulling from half court. You got to warm up. So we're going to ask him warm-up questions, see what my boy TJ's been up to, and then we're going to dive right into everything physical therapy. TJ, what's been going on, man?
Oh, not much. Trying to work still a little bit and
yeah, man,
make it through these tough times.
I know. Like, for those of you who don't know, we actually just experienced a tornado that came through Jonesboro. I think it was a F3.
F4.
F4? Okay.
According to our source, E.
Yeah. It was a F3 or F4.
E.
I know. So, it's still more than a 100-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah, let's look it up.
So, I think that what we saw, it was like a 2% chance of all tornadoes to be a F4. So if we had an F4, it still did, hundreds of millions of dollars of damages. So just pray for everybody in our community, man, as we continue to rebuild my hometown. And just like, if anyone needs anything from me or anyone around, we can do our best to get you in contact with somebody that can help you, or I'll come out and help you directly.
So according to the Google, F4 is 207 to 260 mile per hour winds.
Yeah.
Devastating tornado.
Yeah. I know. I just left our neighborhood and they've got about 5 or 6 cop cars over there patrolling on 12-hour shifts, try to make sure to cut down on the looting. And just the crazy nature of everything that's going on. Because, like I said, I've never experienced a tornado in Jonesboro since I've been there. So it was just a crazy thing to go through. So
some of those houses we saw, the ones that were like chopped off in half. Crazy.
Yeah.
We walked around the neighborhood, trains tipped over, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
Put stuff in perspective.
Oh, it most definitely does. It most definitely does.
Mm-hmm.
So TJ, man, you're 29 years old, man.
28.
Oh yeah. Oh, your birthday coming up.
Yeah. We won't count those days.
Yeah. So like I said, basically 29 coming up. TJ's a stickler about days, but he's basically 29. We graduated 09. So man, what activities have you been doing during this quarantine? Because like I said, we didn't even mention COVID-19, and that's just a whole nother epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, that we're dealing with. So what are a few of the things you're doing to keep busy?
Well, mostly I've been working during the week. But on the weekend, when I have the free time, I try to pick up a little light reading, here and there. I'm slowly trying to gradually get back into that. We do a little Netflix and
Yeah. What books you read, man?
This one right here is 3 Feet from Gold. It's like a motivational book talking about turning obstacles into opportunities. So it's by 3 Feet from Gold by Sharon L. Letcher and Greg S. Reed.
Okay.
Shout out to my boy AK. He's the one who put me on that book. I got to finish it for him though.
Exactly. I'm sure we'll have AK on the podcast, but he's gonna have a lot of book recommendations.
He will.
And I've been trying to put those in the show notes for people.
I got that one book upstairs for you too. Before you leave, remind me to bring it down.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I've been for a little bit of background on that. I've been asking TJ for this book for about a year now, so I'm finally gonna get the chance to read that. And
wrong place, wrong time.
Exactly. So there's no better time than right now.
I saw it the other day and thought of you.
Yeah.
When I was moving stuff, I said, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah, but as far as me, man, I've just been trying to get everything ready for this podcast launch on Thursday, and just grinding towards that. Like I said, we had some damage to our home as well, so we met with the insurance adjuster. We met with the guy that's going to be fully replacing our roof. We had to do some debris pickup. We still need to get a new trash can. So, and we got off pretty good. So, I'm just interested to see how in the next few months all this is gonna shake up. So, like I said, we mentioned that you were a bachelor earlier. So, we're gonna put you on the spot here real quick, and we're gonna ask you, what are 3 things that you look for in a potential partner?
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's see. I want somebody who, I would have to say equal in intellect. Somebody that can challenge your mind, make you think. You can grow together. Okay, there's one.
Yeah.
I would say she'd have to be a God-fearing woman.
Yeah.
Thought it is too. And, there's a lot of things that
equal in intellect. For anyone out there that thinks TJ is a catch, we'll get to his career later. But equal in intellect. So read the book that he's reading, and God-fearing woman. Yeah, that's definitely got to be up there.
I'm gonna throw a couple in one, but care about your health. So health is in maybe work out a little bit, eat good, that kind of thing. Okay, because it's all about staying in shape.
Exactly. And you want to be able to grow together for a while. So,
right. I mean, so if you got the intellect, you got a healthy mind, healthy body. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So, what would you say are some deal breakers for you?
I'm not a big fan of smokers.
Okay. Yeah, not a big fan of smokers.
That would be one of my pet peeves of relationships. I don't smoke, so.
Yeah, and that's understandable.
It doesn't reflect the person, There could be some people, but I would prefer not if I could help it. Let's see, probably somebody always with a negative mindset,
Yeah, pessimist.
Gotta have some optimism in there.
Yeah.
I prefer an optimistic. I'm pretty optimistic most of the time, I would say. So I like somebody like that. I mean, it's okay to be real, but optimistic. Those are the main things. I mean,
okay. So as long as you don't smoke and you're positive, ladies, you are on TJ's radar. We already heard the things that he's looking for. So you guys just keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's important to talk about things like that on the front end of the relationship, so that there's no surprises going into it. Like, like you really need to assess what your pet peeves are. Mm-hmm.
And I heard the best thing to do is write that kind of stuff down.
Yeah,
you write it down. You keep it in the front of your mind all the time.
Yeah, just get that list. So when you're, and my thing is, what do you think about? Because we talk about this kind of stuff a lot. What do you think about someone that has a checklist for what they want? Like, if this person is in 6'4", can fly, and has lasers coming out of his eyes, then I'm not dating him. What do you think about that?
I think that's a little unrealistic.
Yeah,
I would have to say.
I mean, I think so too. I think there's definitely nothing wrong with sticking firm to the qualities that you want in a person.
Right.
But my thing is, I think if you narrow your searches down too far, then you're not going to have anything.
Right, and you get to know people. I think you'll allow more in than you originally anticipated.
Yeah,
once you develop a personality and a friendship with somebody. So.
Yeah, and like I said, I know we're going way off topic here, but I mean, like I said, we're warming up, bro. We at the free throw line now. It's almost time to shoot the three. So, what would be an ideal first date for you?
Well, I like to eat, so dinner is a must.
Dinner,
probably maybe something fun. Either it could be a movie, but I know, like on those first dates, a lot of people, or I would say from what I've experienced, women, they prefer to go somewhere where you could talk a little more.
Yeah.
And so maybe after dinner, maybe something fun, like something where y'all can interact, like maybe mini golf, bowling, something like that. Something where y'all can still talk and where you're not in a movie where you can't say anything.
Exactly. You just sit there for 2 hours.
That's for later on.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, I think that's definitely like a third, fourth type of date. And I might get some heat for this, but like even a movie like at your house would be better than like a movie like at the movie theater, because at least you can still talk and converse. with one of your with
You
each
pause
other.
it so you go to the bathroom.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna miss anything, but you know,
Right.
in this like Netflix and chill thing,
Yeah. With
era.
all positive, with all good
Yeah,
intentions.
exactly. All good intentions. I mean, I really think that that's a good way to get to know somebody, you know, just on like a surface level. So yeah, I think those are all good things. So what do you think about like traditional gender roles as far as like men and women? Like, when do you think, if you're dating a girl, you've been dating her for 2 or 3 months, when do you think that like the girl, because you know we're gentlemen, but when do you think the girl should start like offering to pay, or do you think she should offer to pay any when you're trying to court her?
While you're courting, it may be more of the man when you're, pursuing her. But once you have established a relationship, like this is going to go somewhere, I think it's okay if she decides to take
How do you
risk.
bring things like that up? Like how do you
tough.
how do you get it from like, you know, we've gone on 6 or 7, you know, extravagant dates, you know, we've gone parasailing, we've gone on the hot air balloon, we've gone jet skiing, and you know, we went to the 501 twice this week. You know, when do you say it's okay for you to take the Taco Bell late night run on your card?
I think you may have to insert that in a hypothetical situation somewhere along the way and just see what her thoughts are on that, and you'll know. So then when it comes up, it's not like no, you know.
Yeah, and I just say, because like we have different perspectives as far, because you're single and I'm obviously married.
Right.
And that's one of the things that you know, we still talk about, you know, just when we were dating and all those things, because I think it's definitely important to discuss, especially when it comes to finances before you get married, because once you get married, it's obviously all one pot. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter once you get married. Like whatever you make is your money with her. So I mean, it's definitely muddy waters trying to navigate all of that in the dating phase, and I don't think that there is a good outline of how it should be. So I was just curious on your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think we're warmed up. Like I said, we could go all day on the hypotheticals and the outline of a relationship, so we won't bore the people with much more of that. But if you do like what you just heard or have anything on that subject, you know, I think we're going to have like a little spin-off project with some bonus episodes that are kind of around these topics. So stay tuned for the spin-off pod. But you guys came here to hear about physical therapy. We have a pandemic going on, and we are very thankful for our healthcare workers that are out here serving our community every day. And I've got a good one here for you in TJ. So TJ, yes, just tell me a little bit about like your upbringing and when you decided on this career path as a physical therapist.
So I grew up in Jonesboro, Arkansas, born in 1991. 2-parent household, one younger sibling. We're 8 years apart. Growing up, you know, I tossed some ideas around. At one point, I wanted to be a lawyer. This is when I'm real young.
Really? I never thought that. You were almost Harvey Specter.
Like an attorney, yeah. I want to be an attorney at law. I like to dress up. So that's where that came from. I always wear a suit every day as a lawyer, or a button down. At some point I transitioned over to want to be a pediatrician. And that's after I got to shadow my pediatrician for a day or two when I was probably like 4th or 5th grade, I would say. And I liked what he did, liked working with kids, that kind of thing. So I enjoyed the interactions.
When was this? When did you shadow that person?
It was in elementary school.
Wow. Okay.
I think it was in 4th or 5th grade. So for the longest time, I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then what transitioned me ultimately to wanting to be a physical therapist was I went to in 10th grade, I think in the summer. Little backstory. My mom works at ASU. She's a librarian, so she introduced me to this little program. It's a medical professions program. And in that program, I got to see things like nursing, audiology, radiology, physical therapy, things like that, social work.
What was that program called?
I don't remember.
Okay.
There might be a brochure around somewhere.
Yeah.
But this was that was 10th grade, so that was more than 10 years ago. So
see, that's crazy. So would you say that your parents had like a big impact on trying to make sure you had your future career already planned out?
No. Well, I mean, impact, yes, but they didn't make me choose. You know, they didn't make me. I let me pick whatever I wanted to decide to do. You know, whatever I decided to do was going to be okay with them. They knew I wanted to do something in the medical field or that direction, so they were okay with whatever choice I decided to make. But I went to that camp, and when I went to the physical therapy part, I actually knew the director of therapy at that time at ASU. His children, one of them I played ball with. He's a year younger than me, and then he had an older sister that was a year ahead of me in school. And so got to see a lot of things that they'll do to help rehabilitate people, and I enjoyed that. And from then on, I wanted to be a physical therapist. From 10th grade, that's when I knew. Okay,
so would you say that grades in high school were a big factor? Like, did you focus on getting a good ACT score in grades when you were in high school?
I would say it was a good focus. I wouldn't say it was the end all be all. I mean, I was in a lot of sports, so I focused a lot on that. But I knew you couldn't get into college without making bad grades. So obviously, I knew it was important actually. So I tried to do the best. I did the best I could juggling that, plus the sports I was in, which I was in track, basketball, and football. So
okay, yeah. So you were in all these extracurriculars. Now you are getting ready to graduate. What did your college look like? Like, did you have scholarships? Did you take out student loans? Did you apply for a lot of different schools?
No, I pretty much applied for ASU. I had a couple scholarships, like the Arkansas Challenge. I know that was one of them. I can't remember, maybe a Pell Grant. And there was one other scholarship I had. I cannot remember the name of it. Said this is 10 years ago. So,
yeah, he 29, so.
28. Anyway, getting there close though. But those particular ones, and then since my mom worked at ASU, there was actually like a discount.
Yeah,
we got a discount. So on top of, and I also worked actually at the time when I was in school. I worked in what's called the Arkansas Biosciences Institute on campus. And I was able to get a grant through them as well. So my undergrad was mostly paid for. So I didn't have to take out any loans in undergrad or anything like that. And that was a blessing for sure.
Okay. So your undergrad degree, was it ever a question what you were going to major in? Or did you just know that the end goal was physical therapy? So you just picked a random major?
I'd say it started off as I knew the end goal was physical therapy. And after the first, I would say, semester, you start gearing towards the ones that are closer linked to that type of profession. So it could have been biology. I thought about that at one point. I ultimately ended up doing exercise science because I was big into working out at that point, and I thought that would translate well over to what I was doing. I could have done athletic training if I wanted to. Yeah. Either of those would have got me closer to what I wanted to be. Ultimately, so.
Okay, so do you have to have a certain major to get into the PT program at A-State?
You actually do not have to have a certain major. As long as you have the prerequisites for that program, which the ones that I remember, I know you have to have physics 1 and 2. I believe you have to have chemistry 1 and 2. You have to have a statistics class and medical terminology. Those are the main ones I know you had to have before going into the program.
Okay, so is a bachelor's degree a prerequisite or just those prerequisites?
You have to have a bachelor's degree, but those prerequisites, so it could be any bachelor's degree, because I had actually in school, half of my class were exercise science majors, so a lot of us were in the same program together in undergrad. We had one girl in my class in particular who was an engineering major. She went off to be an engineer and changed her mind, decided she wanted to go back to PT. So all she had to do was go back and get those prereqs, and then she was good. I also had a classmate that was an art major, which that one was really interesting. She ended up, knew it wasn't that lucrative. I guess would be was her goal to find something that was more lucrative and something she liked doing and enjoyed doing. So she went back and got her PT degree, got a prereqs and then PT degree. And then I had two other classmates. I had one that was a business major, and I just think that he just thought that wasn't for him. Yeah. And he enjoyed working with people, but in a different way. Because you work with people in business, obviously, but just in a different way to help people, I guess, is what he's decided he wanted to do. So he came back and got his PT degree. And then I had one other that was he was in seminary, so he was going to be a preacher. Oh. And he went back and got his PT degree. So I don't know exactly what changed his mind, but those are some cases, in my class that I got to witness.
Yeah. So, I mean, you had a lot of different backgrounds in that class that you went through. Do you think that that diversity played a role into them getting into PT school?
Into those particular classmates?
Yeah. Like, do you think that they look for a certain degree, or is it just like they just equally evaluate each one?
I don't know exactly how the process goes as far as that goes, but I would, if I was going to venture out to say out of my own opinion, I would say they try to get a certain amount to make it a little bit more diverse. Because in my class, there were 3 minorities out of 30.
Okay.
So that's, about 10%.
Yeah. It's so would you say that your undergrad GPA played a big part in you getting into PT school or not?
Say it one more time. I'm sorry.
Would you think that your undergrad GPA played a big role in whether or not you got accepted into PT school?
Oh yeah, played a big role. Played a huge role. So in my like I said, there's only 30 people in the class.
Yeah.
I believe when I applied, there was 600 plus applicants that applied for PT school, PTA school. But the way they had it set up was, I believe they're looking at the highest GPA first of all, overall. But then they also take into consideration, maybe the first, semester or two you were trying to find your way, that kind of thing. So they also look at the last 60 credit hours of your undergrad degree and see how focused you were, I guess, near the, after being in there for a little while and see, did you, that your mindset, is still there to, can you handle the workload, that kind of thing. They also look criteria wise into this region. So if you graduated from ASU, you kind of got a few extra points because they're trying to keep people that graduate from this area in this area. Yeah. That's their overall goal. So
what advice would you give to somebody that had like a little bit of a lower GPA? Like they're rounding out to their senior year and they got about like a 2.7. Like what advice would you give to that person?
I would probably try to retake some of those classes and try to just see if I can, once you're, obviously you realize what you got to do in order to get in. Yeah. So those classes that you may have, maybe not taken as seriously early on, maybe go back and retake that and try to see if you can get a higher grade in that particular course. Because they are, the end all be all, they are looking at grades. So it's, but there are people that, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 that have gotten in that were on the alternate list too. They do have an alternate list because some people apply for several colleges, 8, 9, 10 different ones, and whichever one they get into, that's the cheapest. A lot of times that's the one they end up going to. So, they do choose from the alternate list too when they select their 30 and everybody doesn't want to go to that particular school. So,
yeah. So did you apply for any other PT schools or was this the only one you were looking at?
I only applied for ASU because I kind of had a plan. My goal was to apply and hopefully got in. If I didn't, I was going to try again one more year, and then if I didn't get in that next time, then I was going to try to apply for the PTA program, and then work, and then eventually apply again for the PT program.
Yeah, so
I had a plan kind of in my mind what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get it done.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about these more college-based careers on this podcast. Mm-hmm. I always want to ask, did you work any during your undergrad and graduate program?
So I actually did during both. So I didn't, in either, I would say I didn't ultimately have to, but I kind of wanted to just to have a little extra spending money for my own sense of well-being, I guess. And so, once I started working, I never stopped, but it, obviously it was a little bit less because we were doing 18, 19 hours of class in PT school. probably 15 or 16 hours in undergrad. And so a lot of times I would work in PT school. I would work on the weekends. I worked at an inpatient rehab facility as a therapy tech. So I would help go get patients, help the therapists while they were down in, help the therapists with the patients while they're down in therapy, that kind of thing. When I was an undergrad, I think I mentioned earlier, I worked at what's called Arkansas Biosciences Institute. I've been working there since high school. So when I was an undergrad, I just continued to work there when I had some free time for a little extra money. And I was like a lab assistant there. So I got to have my hands in on a bunch of different kind of experiments and projects while I was there.
Okay. So you mentioned being a therapy tech. What were the requirements to being a therapy tech? So like, did that help you any going into PT school? Did you get to work with any of the PTs or PTAs while you were there?
I would say the benefits from being, I think it's really good. The two ways you could come in with an upper hand a little bit in going into PT school is either getting a job as a therapy tech somewhere where you can know the ins and outs of what's going on, or shadowing. You can shadow as much. There's no limit to how much you can shadow. I mean, the more shadow you can do, or the more hours you can get in general, the better off you'll be, I would say, in the long run. Because as a tech, I would say what helped me the most was, it may not even been specific classwork type stuff, but more of like things you do in everyday life as a tech and as a therapist, such as transfers with patients, working on posture and things like that, so you're not hurting yourself when you're getting people in and out of bed, taking people down to therapy. And then also like just picking the therapist's brains. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? How's this helping to benefit the patient? That kind of thing. So I thought it was pretty helpful.
Okay, so we're going to speed up a little bit. So you're graduating with your undergrad degree. What did that next year look like for you? Like as far as the applying, like when did you apply, et cetera, going into when you actually got in?
So as your senior year is approaching of undergrad, that last year is looking towards applying for the PT program. So you've got to make sure you got all your prerequisites first, as I said. So those are all the courses that are required by the PT program that you have to get in.
So did you get those concurrently while you were getting your undergrad degree?
Yes. So I got all those in my undergrad degree. I think I listed them all earlier. You also had to send in, so you apply through something that's called a PT cast. So you send off a bunch of information to this particular company, and then they then turn all the stuff into the PT boards and everything like that. And you have to send in your transcript. You have to send an official transcript of all your grades and everything. You have to hand type them all in. So you can't just send the transcript. You have to send an official transcript. Plus you have to type them all into the PT cast. You also have to get a few, I think, letters of recommendation that are, required. They could be a teacher. It could be someone you worked closely with at, while you were working, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to cut you off. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. Okay. And we're back. We had to take a brief interruption there, but I was asking TJ when we left about what the process looked like up until getting into PT school. So just to avoid the confusion, we're just going to go back through it. Go ahead, TJ.
Okay, so that final year.
Yeah.
Basically, like I said, you have to make sure you got all your prerequisites, which those are the classes you take while you're an undergrad that you have to get in PT school.
Yeah.
You want to get the highest grade you can in those, A's preferably. From that point, there's this program you have to put all your information into once you finish and once you right before you graduate. So it's all the grades you had in your undergrad. It's called the PT CAS, PTCAS. I don't remember what it stands for, but I remember we had to put all this information in, and it was very long and tedious, but it'll be worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
Also, you had to have a couple of recommendations. So it could be a professor, it could be a friend, it could be a colleague, it could be a coworker, anybody who you thought highly of you, that could write you a good letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
And in some, not in our particular program ASU, but in some programs they also require shadowing hours. So whatever hours you shadowed, you had to also put those in. And then some programs also require the GRE. ASU did not at the time when I was applying. So
do they now?
I do not know because I haven't. Yeah,
We'll figure that out and we'll put that in the show notes.
They may, but yes, we'll figure that out and get back and let you know on the next pod.
Okay, so did you have to like write an essay or anything? You said you had to get some shadowing hours.
I believe we had to write an essay too.
Okay.
I don't remember what all was entailed in it, but basically it was talking about why you wanted to be a physical therapist.
Yeah.
What drove you to wanting to be a physical therapist, that kind of thing, as I kind of explained earlier.
Yeah.
So it was about a page long, I would say. So
we interviewed a PTA earlier about the process of getting into PTA school, and I was just wondering, did you have to do a sit down interview?
We did not. Our in our program, they didn't want to introduce any bias into it when you sat down because people get nervous, that kind of thing, and we don't want your first impression to be the last impression. So our instructors did not want to do the face interview. They had a different criteria that they looked at in order to get you in the program, that kind of thing.
Okay, so did you get in the first go around, or did you have to go like with your secondary plan?
I actually got in my first go around, so I didn't have to use my secondary plan.
Okay, so
and I was very, very excited when I did.
Yeah,
almost hit a backflip.
Yeah. So okay, so just take us through what it looked like. How long is the program, and when did it start?
So it's a 3-year doctorate program now. It started off as a bachelor program, then they transitioned to a master's, and then about 2 years before I got in 2013 is when I started PT school. It was a 3-year doctorate, so I graduated in 2016. What else did you ask me? Sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, what did that first year look like?
First year was pretty busy. The first year is what they say they try to weed you out. Is what I hear from the upperclassmen. Yeah. So you go from, like I said earlier, from like 14 or 15 or 16 hours in undergrad to 18 hours. That's almost like a full-time job because you got 18 hours of class a week. Yeah. Plus, you probably need to be studying about that same amount of time outside of class during the week too. Yeah. So,
Did it start in the summer or did it start in the fall?
It started in the fall, in August, actually. Started in August. I had I actually graduated from undergrad. In the program I was in, we had to do a summer internship. So I actually graduated in August, and then I started PT school 2 weeks later in August.
Oh, dang. That's kind of intense as far as
it was.
Going from I've talked about a little bit about my college experience. Like freshman year, I had 2 classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So from that, about a 12 to 15 hour schedule to 18 hours is pretty tough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what was the coursework like? Did they break it up into years, like what you were going to be learning?
Yeah, they had actually kind of broken up into semesters more or less.
Okay.
So the first semester was more basics. What they would consider basics. So that's like gross anatomy. So we got to work with cadavers. Have to dissect bodies and identify muscles and veins and arteries and different bones and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's gross anatomy. I'm trying to think of what other classes we had. We had some like basic physiology type classes. There's one class that they called movement science. It was all about how the body moves, talking about levers and angles and things like that. Trying to think of what else. There was one class we talked about like treatment options for patients. So like interventions you would use, like exercises you would do, how to progress exercises, things like that. That we learned in the first year also.
Yeah. So take me through the different types of physical therapy that you can do. Like, do you specialize in one thing at the place that you're at now?
I actually work with geriatrics. I work with geriatrics, meaning older population. So I'd say, if I had to guess, I'd probably say 65 and up is our majority of our population.
Yeah.
We do see younger than that also. I mean, we've had 50-year-olds, 40s, 30s. I've even had some 20s and a few teens, but that's very rare. In our type population, we kind of see a little bit of everything because I'm in an inpatient rehab facility. So an inpatient rehab is kind of right after what we consider acute care. So acute care is more like when they first get in the hospital for whatever it may be. So it might be a sickness, pneumonia, flu, could be in for a surgery. So it could be a knee replacement, hip replacement, that kind of thing. So that's right out when they're in the hospital and doing therapy over there, that would be considered acute care, 1 or 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week, if that. And then they transition from acute care, depending on how well they're doing. If the people themselves don't think they can go home and take care of themselves or don't have the means to take care of themselves, a lot of times they'll come to an inpatient rehab next where they can get stronger and learn how to get back to doing what they were doing before, or we teach them how to use adaptive equipment to help them better function in the home and in society, that kind of thing. And then from there, they would go to an outpatient. Now, some people will go, if it's a knee replacement or hip replacement and they're doing really well, they may go home after acute care, skip the inpatient rehab, go straight home, and then start up with outpatient. But it kind of all depends on the patient. Everybody's a little different. Everybody's pain level is a little different, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, so you say you work with geriatrics.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the other jobs that you could have taken?
There's outpatient. So outpatient is a little bit more advanced. Let me back it up. In the geriatrics, what I work in, we do 3 hours of therapy, 5 days a week, 5 to 7 days a week. So that's considered intense rehab. So that's 15 to 18 hours a week or somewhere around there. When you go to outpatient, you're typically supposed to be more advanced. A lot of the people that come to outpatient are usually walking in there, but there's some little minor issues they still got to work on. So they're doing actually like 3 hours of therapy three times, or an hour of therapy 3 times a week. So 3 hours a week is usually what they're Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So they do that type of therapy with the expectation that at home they're working on their exercises that we give them, that kind of thing. They're also supposed to be doing stuff on their own outside of just in therapy. That's the understanding when you go to outpatient type therapy.
Okay. So did you ever consider going into occupational therapy?
I never actually did. I think when I was coming through, we didn't have that type of program at our school, so I didn't actually get to see all that. So I can say this: what I was taught in PT school, we kind of, based off what we do at my hospital, we were taught to do kind of everything with the entire body, so head to toe. We had to learn everything. I'm not saying that occupational therapists only work with the shoulders and hands and things like that, but I don't know that they were taught in school as to work with the entire body like we were. I don't see them doing much with, the legs, the knee, the foot, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would say that in my opinion, I think I picked the one that of the two that I would like the most.
Yeah.
But that's not to knock occupational therapy. It's just, I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know what I see every day, at work.
Yeah.
So I'd have to read into it, and I could probably actually get you OT out here on the pod.
Yeah,
if you need.
Yeah, I don't know.
They can break it down for you. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I can get something out here
so
they can explain it to you.
So what is it that you would say that you love about physical therapy?
Growing up, the jobs I wanted to do, I always wanted to do something that I could help people in, and that could be anything. But I also always enjoyed working out, exercising, teaching people how to exercise in the right way. And so I think it's just it's one of those things that kind of came hand in hand. I was good at both, and they worked for me. And I enjoy doing those. I enjoy helping people in that way and making them feel better, that kind of thing. And, just teaching people and having them learn and understand, why we're doing the things we do and why this is going to help make you better, that kind of thing. So
was it ever a thought to use your exercise science degree?
If I had to do it off percentages, maybe like a 10%.
Okay.
Like I was pretty much dead set on physical therapy. Like exercise science kind of afterthought.
Yeah.
So it was kind of I wouldn't say afterthought. I'd say it was a stepping stone to get me to where I wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Exactly.
So that's what I would say. Because it helped. Everything I did helped to get me to where I am. So there's, yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say was like the coolest project or class that you had in physical therapy?
Ooh, okay. We actually one I enjoyed a lot was called Healthy Agers. So after we had been in the program about a year and a half or so, we got to actually work with real patients. We had patients that would volunteer to come in from out of the community, and we kind of give them pro bono physical therapy, which is pro bono is the term for free.
Yeah.
So they kind of would benefit from us doing therapy with them, but it wasn't like we're not charging them for anything.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that because we got to kind of see kind of what we would see when we're out and about, like when we're out in the real life, that kind of things.
Yeah.
Patients are coming to us. We're assessing blood pressure. We're assessing them for the problems that they have, whether it be balance issues or that kind of thing, and trying to figure out what ways we can help make them better, improve their balance, minimize their pain, whatever their ailments or their problems may have been.
Okay. So what, if any, did your clinicals look like in PT school?
Okay, so I had, I believe, 5 different clinicals. I kind of, at the time, I wasn't really originally when I got into PT, I thought I was going to either do something with pediatrics, which is children, or I thought I was going to do something with sports.
Yeah.
Because I was, diehard. I love basketball, love football. I like sports a lot. So, the first clinical I went to was acute care, kind of what I described earlier, kind of right out of surgery. Acute care is very fast paced. So you're seeing these people 1, 2, maybe 3 days, and then they're out of there. They're going to the next place, next phase. That was interesting. That was at St. Bernard's. I think it was a good experience. It was a good first rotation for me. Yeah, kind of learned the basics. From there, the following year, that clinical was 5 weeks. So then we went back to school after that summer. The next summer, we had 2 5-week rotations. One of mine was in Little Rock at an outpatient clinic. That was called Ortho Arkansas, and I thought that was very beneficial as well. Got to kind of see a different phase of therapy. People coming in from the streets wanting to get better and minimize their pain, solve their problems, whatever they may be. After that one, I came back to Jonesboro. I went to a pediatric clinic, Sensational Kids, and I got to see pediatrics for the first time. The kind of patients they'll work with. Thought that was pretty cool. When I was at the pediatric one, I got to do aquatic therapy. We talk about that in school some. So we got to take the children out to the pool in Paragould to the community center, and got to get in the water and do therapy with them in the water, which is pretty cool. I thought that was interesting. Now, my last 2 clinicals were 2 8-week clinicals. So we go back to school for a semester, our 3rd year. Yeah. And then the second semester, we would go to clinicals. So I had 2 8-week rotations. One of mine was in Fayetteville. It was an outpatient clinic again, but it was different than the one I went to in Little Rock. I mean, just as different people, different type of, just different environment, that kind of thing. Same. People are still coming in off the street, trying to get better, but it was just a different environment. So it was cool to see 2 different outpatients. They did more what we call manual therapy at this outpatient. So we call them, chiropractors, they pop backs. Yeah. So I learned to do, they call, hold on a second. So when chiropractors pop backs, I learned this, while I was there and everything. When chiropractors pop backs, they call that manipulation. Yeah. So as a therapist, we are also able to do similar things, but we call it, when we would pop it back or something like that, we would call it mobilization. Yeah. 2 different terminologies. We each have our own little practice acts and things like that we have to stick with. So we mobilize joints to try to help minimize pain or reduce or help improve function. So, if you're limited, let's say you got in your back, you're limited, you twist into your left, but you can't go as far as you normally would. We'd go in and kind of mobilize the joints there in that particular segment or wherever it may be and try to help improve that mobility.
So did you have to take some classes on that in school, or did you learn that just on the fly in your clinical?
We actually learned to do mobilized joints in school. And then when I was at clinicals, he furthered that knowledge by letting me do it firsthand. He would teach me something that he learned when he was out and about, my instructor. And then he would have me then I got to use that particular technique that he showed me on one of my patients, and I enjoyed that a lot. Like that was really rewarding. My last clinical was at inpatient rehab, which is what I work at now. This one was in Little Rock. It was actually a really good experience too. So in this type of setting, you get to see all kinds of patients. It's geriatric still, but you get to see. I saw strokes, I saw Parkinson's, I saw traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, knee replacements, hip replacements. People who have had heart attacks and had heart surgery, that kind of thing. You get patients that are just generally weak. You get amputees. You name it, you see it. So broken motor vehicle accidents, broken ankle, broken femur. There's a number of different things you see when you're in the inpatient rehab. But that was a rewarding one too. I thought that was a great one, and those are all my clinicals.
Did you have to choose different things for your clinicals, or could you have done like all outpatient if you wanted to?
We were required to do. We had to do an outpatient. We were required to do an inpatient rehab one because those are usually what we consider neuro. So neuro being like stroke related, anything that had to do with the brain, the spinal cord, that kind of thing. So a stroke, a traumatic brain injury, a spinal cord injury. So we had to do that type of outpatient. We had to do a neuro one, and we also had to do an acute care. So acute care was the one I discussed earlier, but we had to do one of each of those. And then our other two clinicals that we did 5 of them. So those 3 we had to do at least those 3. And the other 2 were elective. So you got to choose. You could repeat one of the ones you did at a different location.
Yeah.
Or you could pick a new one, a new type of one. So.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier when you were talking about the mobilization of joints, manual therapy. What are some of the other types of therapy that you perform?
Oh, let's see. We do we do neuro. So an outpatient would be more of the manual type therapy. You might do some soft tissue mobilization, in inpatient rehab, which is massage. That's what we consider soft tissue mobilization. We see neuro patients. We see orthopedic patients. Orthopedic patients would be your knees, your hips, those kind of joints. We see people who've had ankle fractures, femur fractures. I've seen patients that have had shoulder surgery, so rotator cuff repair, or some people the joints are so bad in that shoulder they get what's called a reverse shoulder. So they'll get a reverse total shoulder. So they'll take the whole shoulder out, put a new one in, but the joint will be reversed.
What's the point of putting a reverse shoulder in?
It's supposed to improve mobility for that particular type of patient, and so they won't have to go in and do any more surgeries or anything like that. Because sometimes the joint's so far gone that they just have to go ahead and just replace it all. Yeah, and apparently I believe they're having better results with the reverse total shoulders than they are with just a total shoulder. I got you. So I think overall those tend to last longer. They do better. Patients report less pain, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So how long would something like that last? Like if I had to get a reverse shoulder surgery, how long would that shoulder last?
That one specifically, I don't know. Okay. But I would say, a lot. Technology is getting so great now. I know with joints, it used to be like 15 years. So like if you got a knee replacement, about 15 years, you have to get a new one, 15 to 20. Yeah. I think now it's extended on even out. So it may be 20 years plus when you get a joint completely replaced like that, like a shoulder, could it be a knee or a hip? Yeah. Something like that.
I got you. So you've taken us through your clinicals, and now we're just going to talk about a little bit about graduation and beyond. So I think we've talked about this before. So you do have to take state boards to be a physical therapist. So what was that process like? How long did you have to wait after graduating to be able to take your boards?
So it's designed to where you take it. There's a test every 3 months as far as state boards go. So first you got to figure out what state you want to practice in. So if you want to practice in Tennessee, you got to, apply in Tennessee. If you want to practice in Arkansas, apply in Arkansas. Now, there's some extenuating circumstances for people who do like traveling PT. I have a classmate that travels. I believe his license is in more than one. He got one license, but it was in several states. So he got one in like Missouri, Tennessee, and Arkansas or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they have some way you can get all those, or either at least a temp license in those other states. You can have a main one in some or something like that. But once you've applied, you then have to apply for a testing site.
Okay.
So there's testing sites all over. There's testing sites. I mean, a lot of the major cities: Memphis, Little Rock, Springfield, Missouri, Arkadelphia. There's testing sites all over. It's called a Prometric site. So once you've applied and paid your fee for the Arkansas State Board, you apply and pay for your Prometric site where you take the test at. Then they'll set your date. After they set your date, then you that day you have to get there rather early. And it's a 5-hour test, I believe. You get 5 hours to take it. There's 250 questions on the test.
I'm guessing it's comprehensive.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, it's multiple choice.
No, I'm saying like it's over all the stuff that you've learned.
Yes. It's multiple choice, but it's over everything we've learned. So any question can be anywhere. You have some questions that are worth more points than others. So the harder the question, you get 4 points. The easier the question, you'll get 1. So that kind of thing. They have them, and then they'll add them all up, and then you have to make at least a 600 is the score. You have to consider passing 600 out of, I believe 800 total points. So
okay. So what did the studying process for that look like?
Grueling. Studying process is interesting. We actually, right before we graduated PT school, we ordered these books. They're our testing material books, pretty thick. They have almost everything or pretty much everything you've ever learned in school in these books, but it's broken down in a way that you can, like a study-in format. And at the end of each book, there's 3 practice exams at the end of each one. There's 2 types. We had 2 testing books. There's one called a therapy ed book, which is people consider the harder one. And there's one called Score Builders, which is just a little bit, they consider easy. I've heard people say it's easier. Score Builders book has a little bit more pictures and things in it. And the therapy ed book is mostly just writing. I would say they're both beneficial, and I would use both of them because there's some different stuff in some of them. The things are worded a little differently that you could see from either one on the test. We also with one of those books we got a prep book that broke down the test, like the test you actually take at the boards, in percentages. So it broke it down like we had to like 25 or 30% of the test would be musculoskeletal. So all things joints. Talking about joints, pathologies. Another percentage of the test would be neuro. So like I talked about strokes, traumatic brain injuries, Parkinson's, people, multiple sclerosis patients, things like that. And then a smaller percentage of it would be like cardiac patients, people who've had heart attacks and have had heart surgery and things like that, and about the vessels and things like that. And then you have even smaller percentage of the test is like modalities, heat, what to do with hot packs, ice packs, things like ultrasound, electrical stimulation, things like that. So we learned that kind of stuff in school. So that's kind of how the test is broken down.
So just take me through when you took it. Like, did you pass on the first time? Did you have to take it multiple times? Or?
I actually had to take mine multiple times. The first time, so once you take it, you have to then you wait to see if you passed it. So if you did not pass it, then they'll send you something saying you didn't, and then you'll have to sign up for another date, which I said earlier, it's every 3 months. So after you study and all that, it's kind of discouraging if you don't.
Yeah.
And it does make it hard to refocus again, but then you have to go again. So I went back for a second time. And the second time, I think I studied more than my first, but still not quite enough. I did not pass on my second time, but on my third one, I sat down, I made a study plan and followed it through with some help from some friends that had a better way of studying than I was doing originally. And once I sat down and did that, when I went in on that test, I knew I had it that last time. I knew it.
Yeah. So what is some advice you would give somebody that's studying for their PT boards?
I would say, for one, when you're coming up to your boards and you got about 2 or 3 months left, I put aside everything else and focus on that. Like, that should be your main focus for that time. I mean, 4 to 5 hours a day, I'd hit it hard every day.
4 to 5 hours a day.
4 to 5 hours a day. Now, some people might not have to do that much, but if you really want to get it, that's what I had to do. 4 to 5 hours a day. And there's the best method I found for studying is a way we kind of learned when we were in school. I was kind of just following the textbooks how they were, and it wasn't sticking for me like it was maybe for some other people. So what I had to do is I had to go break it down by body parts. That's how we learned it in school. So we started when we were doing our musculoskeletal class. We start with shoulder. We did all things shoulder. So we learned about shoulder injuries. We learned about every joint, every angle the shoulder can, every movement the shoulder can make. We learned all the ligaments, all that kind of stuff. We learned about all the nerves that go around the shoulder, that kind of thing. And then once I had the shoulder down, I moved on to the elbow. I went shoulder, then I went to the elbow, then I went to the hand, then I went down to the hip, then I went knee and ankle. That's kind of how I went through it my last time, and that helped a lot. Because once you learn and you got that stuff to memory, those easier questions when they come on the test, you can just you know it when it comes. You're like, oh, I know that. I've seen that a million times.
Yeah.
Boom, on to the next ones, that kind of thing. So,
okay, well, so you passed your boards,
right?
And now you are about to start your professional career. Where did you apply, and did you apply at multiple places?
I actually applied at 2 places here in Jonesboro. One place I was already working at. I had kind of talked to bosses beforehand. Once I passed my boards, they kind of had a job that they kind of wanted me to stay, basically. So they were talking about having one for me when I got done. And I also applied at a different place here in town. And they also sent me an offer, actually. So I had to weigh my options and pick which one was best for me. And I ended up staying with the one that I'm at now currently. And that's the same place that I was a rehab tech at. So
yeah, so you're doing geriatrics, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how long have you been practicing?
In May, I will have been practicing 3 years as a physical therapist.
Golly.
That's flown.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean, 29 years old and been practicing 3 years and
28 years and 2 years and 10 months.
I was going to say, by the time you get to your anniversary, you're going to be 29. But yeah, man. So we'll just wrap up with this. Like, what is some advice that you would give to somebody that is thinking about doing PT?
I would say this. Make sure it's something. Make sure that you make sure you're good with people. In this profession, you have to deal with people constantly. And when I say with people, I don't necessarily just mean with the patients, but I mean, if you're at a clinic, outpatient clinic, you got to deal with nurses. You got to deal with the doctor. When you're in an inpatient rehab, it's more than that. You got to deal with all kinds of people, nurses, doctors, techs. You have to deal with case managers, patients, other people's patients. I mean, you've got to be able to work with people. Okay. So that'll be one of my biggest things. If I had to say something else, is just make sure it's something you love. You make sure it's something you love, because you don't want to come show up to something like this every day and you're having to work with people and they can just tell you're not enjoying yourself. They should know that you enjoy what you're doing, and people will know. When they see your face, and they see your demeanor, your body language when you come in every day, they'll know. So,
yeah. So, last question: if you could give some advice to 18-year-old TJ, what would it be?
18-year-old TJ. Let's see.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about him in 11 years.
10. That's a tough one, T. That is a tough one. Let me think for a second. 18-year-old TJ.
Yeah, just knowing what you know now, knowing that it's all going to work out in the PT field. what advice would you give him, like on a mindset?
18-year-old TJ, going back, applying, getting into school and everything, I would say apply for as many scholarships as you can.
Preach.
As many scholarships as you can. There's grants out there. There's scholarships out there. Because once you get on this other end, yes, it's great to work, but when you have loans and debt, it makes you sad.
Yeah.
It can make you sad.
Yeah.
So
that's a whole nother podcast for itself.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just apply for what you can and work as much as you can. Don't overextend yourself.
Yeah.
Because you still got to be able to get through school, but do what you can to try to pay off the schooling while you're in there, so it's less you have to worry about when you get out, because you'll be better off.
Yeah. So, I just really appreciate you sitting down and jamming with us, man. This was the interview with TJ, Physical Therapy. So if you guys have any other professions that you want to see me interview, or you just really enjoyed this interview, go ahead and rate us 5 stars. And we'll see you guys next time, and God bless.
Thanks for having me, T.
Yes, sir.